What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of All Things Super. I am one of your hosts, Spider, and I am joined once again by Mr. VIP Frankie Washington. How are you doing today, sir?
I am infinitely awesome. Thank you for asking, sir. How about yourself?
I am doing fantastic because this is a
The
review
one.
that
The
I have
one.
been waiting to get into since we knew that we were getting a sequel. I'm so excited about this.
But does it live up to the original?
Well, we're going to
That's
have
the
to
question.
find out. But you've already seen the thumbnail. You clicked on the video, so you already know what it is. But if you don't
the
know,
remix.
this is All Things Super, where every week we take a piece of superpowered movie, TV shows, even trailers. We watch them, we review them, we react to them, we break them down, and we ask the question, is it super?
Is it?
Is it?
Possibly. Kind of.
Could
Sort
be.
of. Potentially.
But if you like that, you can go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you can be notified when we have new episodes that come out. If you want the audio version of the podcast, just search for All Things Super on your favorite podcast streaming platform. And if you want to join in on the conversation, just tweet at us at ATSuperPod.
Leave a comment and we'll read it. That's how that works. If you don't leave one, we can't read it.
It's a back and forth
Comments, but if you give a little, then we give a lot. So
there you go.
Spider, if you notice that my background's pretty non-digital. In fact, that's a hard wall.
It is very analog.
Yeah, that's a hard reality wall. We're coming live. Well, live while we're doing it, but we're in Belize right now, my friend. So there it is. You get the wall.
All Things Super
was
is
wondering where's the
international.
Where's
folks.
the digital stuff? Well, you were in Canada.
I know.
So I just figured out.
So that's three separate countries that we've recorded in before.
Michelle Obama said when they go low, you go high. Clearly, you went as high as you could.
Yeah, I went a little bit further north. You went a little bit further south.
Six. Well, we get low. We go low and they go low. All the way to the floor if we have to. Spider, this the one.
This is
the one. And I'm saying this is the one because that's what they said. In fact, everyone says, I'm the one, the only Spider-Man.
There it is.
But you're not the one. You're not the only Spider-Man.
No, not by a long shot. Not the only spider being, as we've seen. We saw horses, we saw cats, we saw dinosaurs, we saw wolves.
With the whip. Dinosaur with the little T-Rex arms.
Yep, the little tiny chip.
How terrifying would that be if you saw a T-Rex swinging in the air to come your direction?
Like that's not even.
I don't want nothing to do with that.
This is the physics for a T-Rex to swing through a jungle. Because of course it's in prehistoric times.
Exactly.
It's just I don't know how that would work.
The stretch of the imagination, for this. They went there, and let's just go ahead and get into it.
I was about to say we don't do this often, but there are some times where there's sometimes where we just jump right into it. So I want to know just straight off the bat, Mr. VIP Frank Washington. Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. We're doing it this week because I don't. You know what? I and you're gonna see how I feel about this, but I want to know how you feel about it. Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse, is it super?
Listen, before I give you that answer, let's dive into some oatmeal, some cream of wheat, some grits, bowl of good hearty stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The precedent was set at Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, right? The first one.
Into the Spider-Verse.
What's the first one? Into the Spider-Verse.
Right.
My apologies. Into the Spider-Verse set the bar. They had the different animation styles all coming together. You even had Spider-Ham, so you had Wacky, you had Spider-Noir, he was in black and white, you had a Techno Spider with Penny Parker, you had Gwen Stacy, or she was Spider-Woman. And then you had Miles Morales. You also had a regular Spider-Man, and then you had a Peter B. Parker,
right,
who was in a different Spider-Man, and we lost a Spider-Man, and the fact that they tied all that in to the new Spider-Man, Across the Spider-Verse. We got more multiversal stuff in here than we did in Doctor Strange. I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. Doctor Strange need to go back to school and take some notes.
Listen.
Complex story in the first one.
Right.
Coming of age story in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
This one, still a coming of age story, but different. Still complexity, but different. Multiversal, but different. Is it super? Goddamn right, the Super Spider. You know this goddamn is a movie of the year right now. It's holding the spot as a movie of the year right now. Listen, the complex story that they're telling with Miles coming of age, going from being in the school, gifted, to going to college of choice, gifted, and being able to, but remember, before he didn't even want to go to the school. He didn't think that he belonged there. It was his dad that talked to him and said, hey, you passed the test.
Right.
You know, it was a lottery, but you passed it. You put the word, you deserve to be here. And now he wants to go to his own school. What did he, Princeton? Was it Princeton?
Yeah.
Yeah. He wants to go there, and he has reasons enough to go there. Before he can even get to that level, Gwen's back. Gwen's back, and we thought we'll never see Gwen again. And now that we're talking about Gwen, because I brought up Gwen and Gwen's back, we get more story with Gwen. Stacy, the Spider-Woman, which I never understood why she wear different color shoes, but I appreciate those different color shoes. The way they was able to encapsulate her in her own universe with the watercolors, and then Peter with the solid colors, and then everyone had their own different, and then have it come back and play into the twist ending. Because I don't know if you noticed, Miles' mother, Rio, eyes were different when he came back.
I did notice that.
You did notice that? Her eyes were a different color, which was a subtle hint that he was not in his original universe. He was in the universe 42, which we've learned in this movie was not even supposed to be outside of its universe. It's the one that bit Miles in his universe. Right. Now, here's a question, Spider. Miles was supposed to get bit, right?
Which Miles? That's the question.
Ooh.
Which Miles are you referring to?
But if it's across the Spider-Verse, aren't all the Miles supposed to get bit?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, right? Because all Peter Parkers didn't become Spider-Man.
Exactly.
Gwen's Peter Parker became a lizard.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be special. Like you, Gwen.
Just wanted to be special.
He already knew it was, which he said in the comics. And then he said it in the movie. That's doing homework there. That's point of reference right there.
Right.
Somebody. I mean, so many good things that we're going to unpack in this video. Spider, tell the people, is it super? Let's just go ahead, because you had the high expectations. Don't let all the Spider paraphernalia in the back fool you guys.
don't even worry about all of that. I just want to set the precedence, because this may be one of our longest episodes ever by the amount of things that I have to talk about this movie.
Well, you need to get into it, sir, but let the people know.
But hands down, without a doubt, this movie is absolutely super. There's no questioning about it. They took everything that they did right with Into the Spider-Verse, and they just amplified it, doubled down, turned it up to 11, and they just knocked it out of the park with Across the Spider-Verse. Now, I will say this.
I don't even know where to start with this. You go ahead, Swati. You tell.
I do want to. I want to talk to the audience for a second. Now.
Oh, here we go.
I've been seeing reviews, because it's our job. This is what we do. We have this entire community of movie reviewers, movie critiquers, content creators that post content reviewing these types of films, just films in general.
Not like them. We just two guys just having a conversation about some stuff.
But
every once in a while, a movie might get thrown in there.
Right. That's very true.
There you go.
But I have a message that I want to send to our fellow content creators out there.
Stop shitting on our lawn.
If you love this movie like we did, of course, perfectly fine. No one's saying that you have to share the same opinions that we do. If you didn't like the movie, you are totally within your right to not like the movie. If you want to critique the movie, you feel the movie was too long, perfectly fine. If you felt like...
Are you serious?
Just hear me out. Hear me out. Because these are all critiques that I've heard. If you felt the movie was too long, it's fine. If you felt like the cliffhanger ending was out of place and you didn't really care for it, that's fine. A lot of people don't like cliffhanger endings. There are a lot of people that didn't like the Fast X ending because, even though we know we're going to get a sequel, it's going to be a continuation of the story, but some people don't like that. If you don't care for, the way that the story was told, that's fine. But I am sick and tired.
Here we go.
Gotta
piss right off.
People and this sort of forced diversity narrative that they're screaming about. And this is to one TikToker in particular, but I know there are others out there that think like him. But if you go into a Spider-Man movie who's your main protagonist is a person of color, your secondary protagonist is a female, and you see all of the trailers, we know Miguel O'Hara is Hispanic. We see Jessica Drew, and in this version's Jessica Drew, she's a black woman. We know Hobie Brown is going to be in it. He's a black character. We know Paviter Prabhakar is going to be in it. He's from India. And after you see all of this promotion material, and then you come out of the movie and your complaint is that it's forced diversity. You say this dude literally said his complaint was they felt that these woke movies are trying to push this narrative so hard that, there were only like 3 white characters in the entire movie. And tell me you haven't read the comics without telling me you haven't read the comics. This is a Spider-Verse. This is a Spider-Verse. Every Spider-Man is not Peter Parker. And the thing about it is that even in Into the Spider-Verse...
Not seeing the comics as a person.
Exactly. Even in Into the Spider-Verse, you had Penny Parker, you had Spider-Ham. It was a pig. Did you have a complaint that, because you had a pig that was Spider-Man, wasn't enough white people in the movie? I'm like... Well,
pig meat is white meat, so...
It is true. You have a point. You have a great point. But to all of these people, and I'm not even going to stay on this topic too long because the negativity about it is not welcome.
You can continue as long as you need to because we got our tea that we sipping. Or is it?
But
it's something.
It's so insane to discount a quality movie. Because say what you want about the story, say what you want about the plot line, say what you want about the cliffhanger, you can't deny that the music was phenomenal.
Amazing.
You can't deny that the art style is groundbreaking, revolutionary.
Kill the game.
It's just... those are things that you can't take away.
Their father and the screen lit up with the emotion.
Exactly.
Stop.
And we're gonna dive into all of that. But my thing is, I want people to stop just thinking that just trolling. Because it might be trolling, and it potentially is because they just want the views, they want the clicks, they want to get a reaction out of people. But the presence of non-white males, or the presence of characters who are not white males. I should put it that way. The presence of characters of not white males does not equal the erasure of a group of people. Just because
Hold
the
on.
protagonist...
We're not going to just slide by eraser like that, because some people might not know what that is. Not me, but y'all thought it was me, huh? It's not me, but I'm just saying.
But because we have Miles, we have Pav, we have Hobie, we have Jessica, we have Miguel, we have a main cast who is primarily made up of people of color. That's not saying that we don't have Ben Reilly. We don't have Insomniac Spider-Man. We don't have Spectacular Spider-Man. We don't have, you know, all of the other Peter Parker variants that are in the Spider Society.
The Spider-Man that was on the animated series.
Exactly. It's not to say that these characters don't exist. They are still there. They still have their comic book runs. They still have their storylines. Just because Spider-Man India has a comic book, that's not taking away from a 616 Peter Parker storyline. So no one's taking away anything from anything that's been established, just to highlight another story. So get over yourselves, shut the fuck up, and just enjoy the movie for what it is.
How about this? Don't go.
Or don't go.
Don't go.
If you don't like Miles Morales, you just don't go see the movie.
How about this? Stay home, sit on your thumbs without pants on, and get a rise out of the conversation that you have with yourself.
There you go.
That's how you get 2 thumbs up. You don't have to like the movie at all, and get 2 thumbs up and enjoy yourself.
It is. All right. But that's all I got to say about that. But yes, so
man, y'all done pissed Spider off.
Diving into the movie, and I'm glad you brought up
still candy from children in the piss Spider off.
But I'm glad you brought up the scene when Gwen was hugging her dad and the whole room lit up. One of the things that I saw when I was looking at some of the press interviews and everything with Haley Steinfeld doing, you know, press for the movie, was that she was told that Gwen's universe is like a mood ring, right? So anytime you see Gwen in her universe, Earth 65, her emotions have a direct effect on the colors around her. So when we see her getting rejected by her father, and I got to stop myself so I can keep my thoughts sequential, because I started hopping all over the place. But when we see her get rejected by her dad and have to run, we see like darkness surrounding her, right? As opposed to when her and her dad sort of reconcile and she's hugging him, and we see the brightness, the light white, the bright pink, and it's directly tied to her emotions because she is the main character of her universe. And one of the complaints that I saw was that a lot of people were like, oh, it's an incomplete story. You know, oh, we finally get into Earth 42 and we see this, you know, big reveal with Miles, and then the movie ends. But what people have to understand is that this movie is not from Miles' perspective.
There you go.
We see some things that happen with Miles, yes. But the movie starts off, the first person you hear in this movie
that we're gonna do this different
is Gwen saying, let's do this differently this time. His name is Miles Morales. It's not about a first person perspective anymore. This is a person telling the story from a secondary perspective, right?
Oh my God. Try to kill y'all right now. Y'all don't even understand what's happening right now.
But we get, because
break it down.
Even when you see it, when she's telling the story, we see clips, we see glimpses of what has yet to happen. We see, while she's telling the story, we see pictures of Miles with Miguel behind him. So we see what's going to happen when they get to the Spider Society. And so she's telling this entire story. This is Gwen's story. This is Gwen becoming more comfortable with herself because she joined the band, and she said, anytime you're in this business, you always end up going solo. And we get full character arc, full story, to where the end we see Gwen has found her band. She's got Hobie, she's got Penny, she's got Spider-Bite.
All
the coolest spider people.
How you don't have chills?
So the thing about it is, this entire movie is Gwen explaining to us what happened with Miles. And she wants us to be a part of her band, because the last thing she asks, she says, so are you in?
Are you in?
And so she wants us to be a part of this group so we can go and we can save Miles. And I think people don't understand. Ask a question
when you finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I think people don't get that, because they just look, oh, Into the Spider-Verse was about Miles, so Across the Spider-Verse must be about Miles too, because we follow Miles for a majority of the movie. But if you just got to pay attention to those subtle clues, that this isn't about Miles. This isn't about Miles' story. Miles is a part of the story, but we're not following Miles. Right. We're following Gwen, because look at how many times we focused on Gwen and the struggles that she was going through, the relationship that she has with Miles, the explanation that she gives to Miles about their relationship, and why, she's hesitant about going through this. But, we see Miles
allowing herself to have feelings.
Exactly. And we see the emotional heartbreak when Miles finds out, exactly what's going on. And when they tell him, you weren't supposed to be Spider-Man. The spider that bit you isn't even from your universe. So you are an anomaly. And then we get to see that realization. Miles is like, you knew. And Gwen is like, I didn't know.
It was a Captain America moment. It was a Civil War. Tony Stark, you killed my parents moment.
It was. And I felt like that heartbreak was even more, because we see how much Miles, we look at his notebook, we see how much Miles cares about Gwen, Mrs. Gwen. His motivation, like you said, for wanting to go to Princeton is because they're the leading most school studying interdimensional travel. And he feels that he has the sincerest opportunity to go to Princeton and to be able to travel the multiverse. So his main objective is to get back, find Gwen, find Peter B. Parker, find his friends, because he's living in a universe where he's alone. He doesn't have anybody to talk about these things with, which Gwen says. Probably one of my most favorite scenes in this film was them on the clock tower and just
hanging upside down.
The transition from Gwen standing upright, tying up her hair, and just like casually walking back to go under the clock tower and sitting down, and they're just hanging upside down. And just that scene of them just sitting there and just sharing their feelings. I just love that this movie wasn't about all action, fight scenes, all of this high intensity stuff. And we had scenes between Gwen and her father, between Miles and his parents, between Miles and Gwen, between Miles and Peter B. Parker, between all of the spiders in the Spider Society, and just that time for them to be able to just talk and have a discussion about everything that's going on. And I feel like those emotional
gotta have time for that, Spider. Can't do that in a minute and in an hour and 30 minutes.
No, you can't.
Can't do that in 145. you gotta have time for that.
You gotta have time for that. And I feel like that was a great way for them to flesh out every character, because even with Pav, Spider-Man in India, we didn't really spend too much time with him, but we saw the little bit of time that we did get to spend with him, how his personality is well-rounded, how he's a Spider-Man who hasn't had to have the struggles that the rest of the Spider people have. His parents are still around. He has a girlfriend. He's a Spider person who is achieving everything, while all the rest of the Spider people, they struggle to have it all. Miles is struggling to fight crime and be with his family. We see that when he's trying to deliver the cakes. He gets the cakes, he's like, okay, I got 2 cakes, I can't swing. Let me get on the train. He gets on the train, villain pops out, he has to go take care of that. Misses his train, can't get back on it. Takes a cab, gets ready to get in the cab, sees a kid trying to steal purses, got to take care of that. Cakes go away. And it's like there's so much that he has to deal with when he wants to be there with his family, but he can't, and he can't tell them why he's not there.
Open that cake up and say, I'm not proud.
But it's just we see the struggles, because the same thing with Gwen. Gwen is struggling to have it all, trying to have friends but still be a superhero. And because of her being a superhero and not being able to
honest with her dad, and then all of a sudden being honest with her dad and have that rejection hit.
Bruh. And for them to hit us in the first section of the movie before we even get the title screen, where she takes off the mask because she's out of web, she can't swing away. She takes off the mask, and her dad is still like, "You have the right to remain silent." When he said that, ooh, I was like, that is like I got shot. It's like he pulled the trigger and he shot me. That was so heartbreaking. Wow. That was, oh my God.
For Peter, though, it was for Peter.
It was.
Here's a question that I wanted to ask you, Spider. Yeah. We saw, and you were talking about the situation with Miles and Gwen, how the trust was broken because she knew he was an anomaly. Mm-hmm. She knew he wasn't supposed to be bitten. But at the same time, you love who you love, you like who you like. And clearly there is some type of emotional investment there with each other. She misses him. She's talking about him. He misses her. She's drawing her and dueling her. We saw in the pursuit when Miles was getting away from the Spider Society,
right?
Gwen whipped him and caught him right in the chest when Spider-Man was falling, when Miles was falling, and he looked at it and saw it was her, and he broke the line purposefully. Do you think Gwen can ever give Miles' trust back?
Yes.
Wow.
It'll, of course, it'll take time, but yes, I do think that he can get her trust back.
It's going to be a grand gesture. Yeah. It's a romantic comedy. It's got to be a grand gesture.
and one, because I feel like to bring that relationship full circle, that, you know, there's going to be a resolution to it, you know, just from a story writing perspective, there's going to be a resolution to it in the third movie. But just from an emotional perspective, it's you, and it's going to be, like you said, it's going to have to be a grand gesture. And we see that it's coming into a grand gesture because you have...
She got the band together?
She got the band together, and it's specifically to go save Miles. And I think when he notices...
Miles is saving himself.
He is. And I can't wait to see that happen, because I feel like a fight between Miles Morales and Miles G. Morales from Earth 42, that's going to be a fight to behold.
It really is.
But I have a theory about that too. And we'll get to that. But I think that once he sees like the effort that she's putting into to like find him, to help him, and then she actually gets an opportunity to explain, you know, her thought process and everything behind it.
She explained. She knew,
but
she knew the whole time that he was an anomaly.
Right.
Well, maybe she didn't know when she met him the first time.
No, when she absolutely. I don't think she knew when she met him the first time. Yeah, and Miguel told her. But here's the thing.
Miguel pretty much told her.
So as a spider person, as a spider being, you have your secrets that you keep, right? Because everybody has to maintain a secret identity for the protection of their loved ones. So it's like, it's almost, because they're talking about these canon events, it's almost a canon, like, character trait for you to lie to the people that you love in order to protect their feelings. And
you got to lose Uncle Ben.
Gotta lose Uncle Ben, if you have an Uncle Ben.
You gotta lose Uncle Ben.
But I think that...
Change his name to Roger.
Let's do something.
Well, it's just uncles, because Uncle Aaron, there was a name Vince, and he had to die too.
But and then the thing about it is, Earth 42, we lost the dad. We didn't lose the uncle. So it's
a multiverse.
It's a variety of people. It's basically you just have to suffer some type of loss. But
yeah, some loss. Because in the comics he loses his mom.
Yeah, in the comics he loses his mom. It's that I think that even though it's rough, it's hard, right? And knowing, because even like with the whole thing about them saying that Miles has to let his dad die, there was like some parts of it Gwen didn't even know, because she's still arguing with Miguel. It's like, you never told me this. This wasn't supposed to happen. This wasn't supposed to go this way. So there were some parts of it that she didn't know about. So, I understand that Miles is upset, and rightfully so, he is upset. But I think that, like I said, in the third movie, they'll be able to resolve that. They'll be able to get to that.
Hopefully.
They'll be able to get to have that
the
conversation.
The reason I'm saying hopefully, Spider, is because they are clearly blazing their own story path.
Absolutely.
Like, this is not a traditional A, B, C plot line, big explosion, sky beam, Spider-Man swings in, whip up with somebody, saves the day, take a picture for the camera, fly off, and then, on to the next adventure.
I do like in Miles' reintroduction, we get him making some of the same mistakes that Peter B. Parker made. Because I endorse baby powder, had to apologize for endorsing baby powder. So he does it in YouTube videos.
I made a mistake. That is hilarious. That is hilarious that they had the meta commentary to throw that in there.
Right.
Let's take a second, Spider, and talk about somebody that I don't think got enough attention in this. We talk about Gwen, we talk about Peter, we talk about the return of Peter with Mayday.
Yeah.
We haven't yet, but it's coming. I'm gonna take this opportunity to talk about the Spot. The Spot. Who started out as a joke villain.
Yes.
Even Peter, which again in the comics, not Peter, Miles, again in the comics, laughs at him for being a joke villain. And then he gets a phenomenal upgrade by kicking himself in the ass.
So serious. And it's
terrifying,
horrifying. And it's just
completely
probably one of the best villain progressions that I've ever seen in a film for him. Because like you say, he was literally a joke. They called him a villain of the week and didn't care about him at all. It was dismissed him. He kicked himself in the ass, fell through a hole. They're like, well, I guess he kicked his own butt. And they're done with him. Never see him again. Won't have to worry about him. And then for the damage that he did, and he went to his apartment, he made a mini collider. So this shows you that this man is a genius. This man is very intelligent. Made a mini collider, absorbed himself in once he found he could voluntarily jump through the multiverses, something that Miguel had to struggle to do. He had to figure out how to get everybody a wristband so they wouldn't destabilize in another universe. The Spot can just travel from universe to universe. Now it is, to the point to where he's just almost all this dark matter, this multiversal matter or whatever it is that he's made of. So I don't think that he would be destabilizing himself when he goes to a different universe. But the fact that he was able to figure all of that out in essentially a day, day and a half, maybe, probably less than that.
He stuck his head in some Mrs. Chen, and it was like, oh, you're not even tripping.
Mrs. Chen don't give a damn. I just like the way she was so unbothered. It's like, who are you?
Unbothered.
What do you want?
What do you want? Why are you? It's like, lady, I'm talking to you from another dimension.
And she's just okay. Now my thing, cameos galore in this movie. Why, when he went into the Venom universe, there was a pack of gum called Venom Mint? Is Venom a celebrity? I didn't see Venom 2. So
he was the what is it called? The protector, the lethal protector.
The lethal protector, yeah.
The lethal protector.
But so is he getting endorsements from gum companies?
It is kind of, you start to chew, it starts to get real symbiont, I
guess. I don't know.
It's a great question. That was just to go to that dimension to see.
That was the only thing that was just kind of weird to me. It was just Venom Man. Why would he have a gum? So,
but the fact that he went from a joke villain from robbing an ATM machine to a personal vendetta, and I love the fact that they tied it in.
Oh
we
my
were
God.
just talking about that on the rewatch.
Everything from Into the Spider-Verse and how it all came around.
The bagel guy.
And it was that was such a and until now, we just took that as, oh, that was just like such a little throwaway thing, just, bagel. And it was like, oh, it's funny, he threw a bagel at him. And then for somebody to hold on to that, like, you threw a bagel at me. It's like, bro, was it really that serious?
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
And they had a nod to Everything Everywhere All at Once, because the billboard that was at the top of his apartment had a bagel, and it said, all the things, always, all the time, or something like that. And it was like their universe's version of the movie. So I thought that was pretty cool. It's like this whole bagel multiverse. It's like, it's a thing now. So bagels run the multiverse, apparently.
Well, it's either that or octagons.
Yeah.
Octagons. I'm making a new word.
Oxygons.
No, octagon is the word. Yeah. Octagon is an oxygon.
That's not
is Mr. VIP, Frankie Washington's word
there
of
the
day.
Talking about those oxygons.
What is an oxygon? It's a aerated octagon. Octagons. Maybe. I don't know. I just make up the words. I ain't got to make up the definitions too. That's too much.
But yeah, no, once he absorbed that collider in Mumbattan,
multi-universes,
it's just, he got terrified. Once he went like all black, he just got absolutely horrified. And it was like, I am afraid now. And it was because we get the introduction to Spider-Punk. He comes in, he gives his explanation. I hate the AM, I hate the PM, I hate labels. I don't like being called a hero, because once you call yourself a hero, you're a narcissist. And then he's like, I don't like working in groups. And Miles is like, dude, you're literally a part of a band. And like, I hate consistency. And then,
yeah, not consistent.
And so they get into the scene where, they're trying to stop the Spot, and they're all getting sucked in, and Spot's like, you're all laughing at me, and Miles is like, nobody's laughing at you, and Hobie is like, I hate comedy, just kidding. The dude is Hobie is probably my favorite character that was newly introduced in the movie. It's because
outside of the mask and inside of the mask.
He's like, how are you even cooler? He's like, I was always this cool. And it was like, that's just the coolest thing to say. Like, I was always this cool. It just took you a while to figure it out.
Self-confidence, kids.
Oh my God, but just
level up.
I had to.
And the fact that he was anti-Spider Society, because he was the one that was telling Miles to not use his fingertips, but use his whole palm.
Right.
To be able to blow out the
what I love is that, because all of the, and this is like we always talk about how trailers like lie and misdirect, because the promotional material when Gwen is not introducing, but talking about Hobie when they're swinging through Brooklyn. And she was like, oh, sometimes I go pop over to his universe for a bit, and he's like, you talking about like sleepovers, like you stay there? And they made it seem like it was being framed like, oh, it's going to be like a jealousy thing, like it's going to be a competition between Miles and Hobie. And the first words that Hobie says when he jumps in is just like, he's telling them, he's like, you got to use your whole palm, not just your fingertips, immediately helping the dude out. And it was like, no animosity.
Telling him that he shouldn't even be here. Like, dude, you're Spider-Man. Be yourself.
Exactly.
You don't need this group.
And not only that,
words of encouragement.
When they're in Mumbattan and they're saving the day, Hobie is amped for Miles. He is like, my man, Miles, my guy. He's like, immediately, he's like, I love this dude. And they get to the Spider Society, and he's like, Gwen, how much did you tell him? And, he's like, obviously you didn't tell him enough, because he knows that all the other Spider people know. And he feels for Miles, and he's like, he's walking him through, and he's like, why are you here? And he's like, I want to get a watch so I can see my friends. He's like, build your own watch. He's like, you're a smart kid. You can do this on your own. You don't need these people. He's like, and I bet I bet you have a great family. He's like, everything is probably going well for you and everything. And, he can't convince Miles, but he tells him, he was like, you know what? I'll drop it. I'll leave it alone. But know what war you're fighting for before you sign up. And it's just those, oh my God, those words of wisdom. And it's just like, it's so applicable to so many different things. It's like, know what you're getting yourself into before you commit to something. And
facts.
And then what I love is that Hobie's just going around taking stuff, picking off parts. And he was like, he picked off one thing. He was like, I bet this doesn't even do anything. And Miles was like, well, it probably did before you ripped it out of the wall. But we see all of that comes hilarious. Back because, like Hobie said, why do you need a watch from them when you can build your own watch? And Hobie built his own watch.
Did he?
He did.
Did he build his own? I know he customized his own.
Because when Miguel is imprisoning Miles and Hobie tells him, use your palms, and he blasts out. Hobie was like,
Hobie leaves.
Yeah, Hobie was like, you know what? Just to let you guys know, I quit. And he like walks back into the portal. He takes his watch off and throws it.
This is also true.
So he took his threw his watch.
You sure didn't whip it right at the end, right?
No, he didn't bring it back. But I mean, it makes sense because we saw that when Miguel kicked Gwen out, sent her in a go home machine, and she was trying to get back, he deactivated her watch. So he has control over all of them. So Hobie knows that. So he's like, no, I'm not about to, not be able to jump if I want to jump and be on your timeline about when you let me do things. So he's like, take that off. You can have that back. I'm going to make my own.
Clearly, all these spider people are intelligent enough.
Very intelligent.
Right. I mean, there was a spider cat that had web balls, like fur balls.
Like hair balls. He just opened his mouth.
Just, he ain't a flirkin. Or maybe he is somewhat of a flirkin. Different variation of a flirkin. Spider flirt.
That would be terrifying. A spider flirkin?
Already terrifying. The thing opens its mouth and eats
just tentacles.
Yeah.
But oh my God, this movie is so great. I want to talk real quick. I want to talk real quick about the cameos of Across the Spider-Verse, because we already knew that this was going to be a star-studded cast. Bringing in Oscar Isaac, bringing in Issa Rae, bringing in Daniel Kaluuya. I felt
like Issa did.
I thought she did great. There wasn't a lot for her to do, but I felt like she was. Because we get the introduction to her. She comes in on a motorcycle and she's telling, Gwen about her family. Well, not necessarily her family, but, Gwen notices that she's pregnant. She's like, yeah, we don't know the sex yet. My husband wants it to be a surprise. He's a romantic like that. She's like, he's kind of corny, but he's so hot. So Gwen is like, can you adopt me? But just hilarious. Her introduction and her being like Gwen's point of contact. And it's like I like her mentor. I like the fact that she came in and she was, kind of funny, but when she's talking to Gwen, she's about her business. She was like, look, if you can't contain this, we're going to have to send somebody else to do it. It's like, I can only cover for you so much. You mess up again, you're on your own. You're dealing with Miguel on your own. And it's like she's stuck to it. It wasn't that, I care for Gwen, I'll try to, pull some strings to help her out. Gwen's getting sent home. She looks at Jessica. She was like, I told you, you mess up again, you're on your own.
But at the same time, go ahead.
Well, no, what I'm saying is just that I feel I would have loved to, and I know we already had like almost 2.5 hours in this movie, but I would have loved to see more Jessica, because I felt like and I know they probably can't have her in too many fight scenes, because even with her being pregnant, we saw most of the fighting that she was doing was on a motorcycle.
It was still badass. Who else swinging a motorcycle around like that? I think she got a point. She hit the vulture in the face.
She just basically just drew. His face had skid marks on it. That's how bad it was.
That ain't comical enough.
But yeah, no, I would have loved to see more of her. But we, but I want you to get to your point before we talk about the rest of the cameos.
As you say that, when the situation happened, you could see the disappointment on Gwen's face. Like, it's like, I don't have you because I told you you can't mess up.
Right.
It was just so much emotional build in the situation,
right,
of all the situations.
Right.
Because even 2099 Spider-Man, you seen that he was trying to be a father.
Mm-hmm.
You got a Doctor Strange moment because he went to a universe that his his daughter was alive.
Right.
And he calls it, I'm going to say it, an incursion. Because let's go ahead and acknowledge that these incursions and these canon events with these absolute points in time are pretty similar, if not the same thing.
Yeah,
even the
same
goo
thing,
that
different
kind of
title.
takes over. The goo that kind of takes over looks just like the incursion goo from the MCU.
Yep,
when the universes collide.
From Multiverse of Madness. Yeah, you're following the same kind of trend.
So clearly, Miles Morales is coming to the MCU. Since we're going to acknowledge that, we got to talk about Donald Glover being into this movie.
I wanted to save that cameo. I wanted to save that cameo for the end, but it is one of the most important ones that we see within this movie. But before
get there,
real quick, so we have Karan Soni, who played Dopinder in Deadpool, playing Spider-Man India. We get the return of Mahershala Ali as Uncle Aaron. We have Amanda Stenberg, who's playing Margot. She's Spider-Bite. We have Shea Wiggum. If you don't know who Shea Wiggum is, you remember in Fast and the Furious, the agent.
Which one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I think 10. He was in 1. He was in 2. I think he came back in 5.
The agent that got his nose broke.
The agent that kept getting his nose broke. He played Captain Stacy. He played Gwen Stacy's dad. And then also, do you know who voiced Peter Parker in Gwen's universe?
No.
That was Jack Quaid, Huey from The Boys.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. No Butcher though, right?
No Butcher.
Okay, just checking.
But, and that's just to say that, you know, we got 2/3 of the Lonely Island. We got Andy Samberg playing Ben Reilly. We got Yorma Tacone playing the Vulture.
I'm in the alley. I'm looking at the wall. The narration.
Oh, it was so funny. Oh my God, he played that part so well. I love Andy Samberg.
I'm looking at the walls.
They see him in the Spider Society. He's leaning up against a post. I'm so distraught. Just so emo. Just narrating everything that he does. I'm swinging in New York. I'm watching the window. He'll never be able to get by me.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, they did their homework. They absolutely included.
And I feel like
almost every Spider-Man in their narration.
You absolutely have to. And of course, Josh Keaton playing Spectacular Spider-Man from the animated series. You get Yuri Lowenthal reprising his role as Insomniac Spider-Man. You know, they're introducing all the Spider-Mans like a video game Spider-Man. We got another video game Spider-Man. He's like, you talking to me? You talking about me? But all of that. And then, of course, the iconic Spider-Man pointing meme, they just amplified it times 1,000.
Oh my goodness, everybody's pointing.
He's like, get Spider-Man.
Get Spider-Man.
Like, you?
This one? This one? Which one?
But
Miles, get Miles.
So we just everything that they're going through. Just like we had a Mysterio. We said we had an exciting Dr. Octopus. We had a boring Rhino. But then we get the Prowler, and Hobie said he's the one. He said he caught him. Hobie said he caught him. And so, what I enjoyed about this was that because we get the clip when Miguel is helping Gwen in her universe, because that Vulture comes from outside of Earth 65, and so while they're kind of fighting, and he's trying to explain to Gwen exactly what's going on. He said, don't get me started on Doctor Strange and Little Nerd from Earth 1999-99. And Gwen is like, Doctor Strange? That guy sounds like he shouldn't even be practicing medicine. But so we get that nod, and we see that because Into the Spider-Verse took place before Spider-Man No Way Home. And so Miguel says that they broke the multiverse when they blew up the collider in Earth 1610. Now, what's happening is that villains are being sucked out of different universes and put somewhere else.
Which is trying to explain how
Vulture got into Morbius' universe. It never made sense up until that particular part. And then the funny thing about it is when Gwen and Miles are swinging through Brooklyn and she's explaining to everybody and kind of like telling Miles everything that she's been doing, and she is explaining to Miguel, and she's like, and Miles is like, Miguel's like, well, what is he about? And she's like, well, he's like super vampire, like a vampire hero or something like that. And Miles says, and it's like, it's so low and like you're in the theater, you can't really hear it. And this is why you have to watch this movie multiple times if you want to catch everything. But Miles like, a vampire hero? I pay to watch that. They're directly referencing Morbius. They're talking about Morbius. And it's so funny. The Easter eggs, the cameos, everything in this movie is just so top notch. But we get this explanation as to everything. Like I said, we get the villains popping into different universes. So like I said, we get that explanation as to what was going on with Morbius and Vulture showing up in the end of that movie. But yeah, to have Donald Glover as the Prowler, a live action Prowler, because up to this point, everything was just all speculative from him showing up in Homecoming. He was like, I have a nephew, I don't want him to get involved in any of this. And we see in the deleted scene, he calls him, he's like, hey Miles, I don't think I'll be able to make it. So that was just confirmed canon that he is the Aaron Davis with a nephew, Miles Morales. And now we get to see that he's actually the Prowler. Now, whether or not he's from the same MCU universe, people are still saying like, oh, it's a different Donald Glover.
I don't think it's,
yeah. So
well, it doesn't make sense. I mean, we have to look at how did he get caught doing multiversal things. So I would think it's a different one. At the same time, how awesome it is, you were the inspiration of the Miles Morales character. Still be able to be in a Miles Morales movie, even though you're not playing Spider-Man. That's trippy.
Right. And we're talking
that's crazy.
We're talking about canon events, right? And so the first episode of season 2 of Community is the clip that we saw of Donald Glover in the Spider-Man shirt. He's getting out of bed, he's stretching, and that was the beginning of the fan casting of people saying, oh, I want Donald Glover to be Spider-Man. And Donald Glover was like, hell yeah, I'll be Spider-Man, because he loved the character so much. And so because of that, that is what prompted, the creators of Miles Morales to come up with Miles and his story and his universe. But the thing about it is, like we were saying with the canon events, Community was almost not renewed for a second season, because the first season didn't really do great. So had Community not gotten a second season, we would not have
got a Miles Morales.
We would not have Miles Morales. We would not have Into the Spider-Verse.
I keep telling you.
So insane.
Dan Harmon created the MCU.
It's close to it.
Between him and why am I forgetting his name right now? The one that directed Iron Man 1.
Jon Favreau.
Jon Favreau are pioneers of the MCU. I don't know why they don't want to give these guys their flowers. Oh, don't get it twisted. Blade and Howard the Duck are the characters, the ones that
Yeah. They started the Marvel
movies section.
So yeah, I would say they started the Marvel motion picture universe. I'll say that. They started the Marvel motion picture universe. But it was really Jon Favreau that kind of kicked off. Jon Favreau and Kevin Feige kicked off the Marvel Cinematic
and Dan
Harmon.
Which is why they keep stealing Dan's rivals. But they're firing them now. I don't know.
Well, I mean, the writers are on strike. So I mean, pay the writers.
On strike before.
Pay the writers. We get incredible stories like this, the writers are due their fair compensation because they are the ones that are creating these masterpieces. You can have a director, you can have somebody like James Gunn who writes and directs his films, and yes, he makes incredible stories. But for most directors have writing teams. They have people who pen screenplays, and then they take that writing and then they turn it into something, fit for the screen. But without that screenplay, without these writers, you are just stuck with the bare bones of a story.
You got a dud. It's a dud.
And just I know that nothing that we say is going to make any kind of change or influence anything, but
what are you talking about? We change a lot of things when we do this show. We change things all the time.
But no, pay the writers, pay the graphic artists, the VFX artists, the animation of this.
There's no way they don't win awards with this movie. There's no way they don't win awards with this film. They won awards with the last one, and there's no way they don't win it with this. This is the epitome of James Cameron when he did Avatar 1. Mm-hmm. It was groundbreaking as far as the visuals, but we know the story is not what it's groundbreaking, but those visuals were.
We talked about
this visually is beautiful.
We talked about in our
story-wise, it's incredible.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In our Into the Spider-Verse rewatch, we talked about the progression of Miles and the way he was animated and how he was animated at 12 frames per second. While he was developing his powers and learning how to use his powers, so he seems a little bit more jittery as opposed to Peter B's kind of fluid 24 frames per second. I have.
Here we go.
For Hobie. And this just goes to show you, because we see that Hobie is animated, that all of the Spider people are animated differently. They all have their little, like, very distinct things about them. But for I think they said that when they're animating at 12 frames per second, they're animating on 2s. And for 24 frames per second, they're animating on 1s. So for 24 frames per second, that's a frame. You have 24 frames every second. For animating on 2s, that's 12 frames every second. So for Hobie wasn't even just a complete, like, frame rate for his character. And this is what one of the animators said. For Hobie's body was animated on 3s. So that's, instead of 12 frames every second, that's 8 frames every second. You offset the vest. The vest is also on 3s, but it's on a different step than his body. Then the guitar is on 4s, so that's 6 frames every second. And then his outline of his body is on 2, so that's 12 frames per second. And then there's a cutout around the guitar. So everything on Hobie's body is moving at different iterations. And it gives that, like, we see, like, the whole newspaper cutout sort of pop punk fashion from the 1980s, UK. And so you see that every single part of his body when he's moving is just staggered in different ways. And
it's like he used a glitch.
Exactly. And how there's nothing that I believe, at least to my knowledge, nothing that has ever existed that has been animated in that fashion. Yeah, you can have, like, live action mixed with animation, and you can have, like we said with Into the Spider-Verse, you have 2 characters that are animated at different frame rates. But to have one single solitary character and have different portions of him animated at different frame rates,
oh my God.
Like, how do you even think of that? Like, just
somebody did their homework over here. Now listen, Sony has been known to, do an Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie just wrong. And we have some questionable things with Morbius and even Venom.
I don't think Morbius was questionable. We had questions like, why did you make this movie? But
and then they got Kraven the Hunter coming up, and then there's a whole plethora of things with this. And the animated version of this iteration of Spider-Man, this team,
just Sony Pictures Animation is just on another level.
Let's go. Let's go, because beforehand I was only deeming Warner Brothers Animation as one of those top tier animation studios that
Yeah.
actually had good storylines and good character development,
Proven
good
track
world
record.
building. And Sam Liu is one of the guys that I would go to. I don't necessarily agree with the last iteration that he did, but that's just his correct, director vision
What was
that
the last
he
thing that he
was
did?
sharing with us. I read it and I didn't even bring it up. It
Oh.
didn't stand up to a lot of his other work. But when somebody, maybe he deliberately slated his stuff so Sony could shine. I don't know. I'm not saying. I will say this though: Sony, they knocked this bad boy out the park.
Oh yeah.
I think it went into somebody's windshield or side glass panel of their house because
Something.
it is no longer in the park.
No, it is
It
gone.
Listen, what are we at right now? I got to ask a question. Have we cleared $1 billion yet? Because I can't see how it wouldn't
Not
clear $1 billion
yet.
Okay,
Currently.
because they're still upset because there's colored people, brown and black
Probably.
Spider-Man. So the Indian Spider-Man was using yo-yos. How in the world does that work?
I don't know, but I loved his swinging style because it wasn't that he just like thwips and then swings. He did like a whole Cirque du Soleil type thing where he like wrapped it around his body, get his feet involved, and like pulls it out, and then like just I don't even know how to explain it, but it was so different.
Can't really explain it.
And it's just
very different.
Oh my god, it is just so innovative for him to be swinging around like that. And I'm not too well versed in the Spider-Man India comic book run, so I don't know if that's taken straight out of the comic books, but if it is, then they portrayed it on screen beautifully.
And the fact that we got Miles doing exactly what you would think any Spider-Man would do or is made to do, which is save people. He saved Captain Stacy, and we're wondering how is that a bad thing?
Mm-hmm.
But then we learn about these canon events, these absolute points that has to happen. And I love the fact that they didn't play Miles as somebody that wasn't intelligent. He figured it out. My dad's gonna die. I gotta get home. What are we doing?
Yeah.
And for them to say, I can't let you go home. First of all, sir, we have a problem. Okay. You're not gonna tell me I can't go home when y'all had the ability to send me home. Then I find out you ain't even want to send me here. Now you want to send me home? And I can't get it. I'm about to tear it down. The fact that he was smart enough to say on the train, I got all the spider people here.
Yes. And it's so funny because you had this running joke between Peter B and Jessica talking about like, oh, go easy. Oh, just Peter B in general, just like telling everybody, go easy on him. He had a horrible mentor, talking about himself, talking about how bad he was in teaching Miles. And so they're running through and it's like, I don't think he has a plan. He doesn't have a plan. What is he doing? He's just running. I don't think he's thinking about it. And then when he said that, he's like, I lured everybody away from your spider society. And Peter B is like, he did have a plan. And it's like, and it goes back to what Jefferson said in the first movie about Miles having a spark within him. It's what they were saying about him. And, when he was in his counseling office in this movie, that Miles is smart. And, just that, not applying himself, that's his only down, not even not applying himself, just having his life and his attention split between being a high school student and being Spider-Man. That's where, his shortcomings are, both in school and then in his family life. And Miles is just, it's just like you said, like Jefferson told him in the first movie, you pass the test just like everybody else, to be in the school. You are smart. You have this intelligence within you. But
it cannot be denied.
No, it cannot be denied. So currently right now, Across the Spider-Verse is sitting at 221 million worldwide.
That is low. That is low for them.
Only one weekend in a theater so far, but has not released in Japan yet.
Oh, yeah. Listen, it's no secret that the Japanese are obsessed with Spider-Man.
Yeah. And speaking of the Japanese, did you see Penny Parker's upgraded like spider bot? Like it looks like a damn Gundam now.
Of course I saw it. And listen.
And she's even like gotten older, and I'm like, I know she's gotten older, but like she's visibly matured, like the way that she looks, like her character. Like, cause I don't really know how old that she was in Into the Spider-Verse, and this has been what, like a year and a half later, something like that, almost 2 years.
Yeah, about 2 years.
Yeah, so now she looks like a straight up teenager. I love
the fact that they explained his growth spurt because he's grown.
Yeah,
and I love the fact that at the end of it all, we did get the references back to Spider Noir and Penny, and then I didn't see Spider Ham, but I was told he was there.
I'm trying to remember if he was in the final scene.
I didn't see Spider Ham when everybody was getting together, but I was told he was there. Maybe they'll go back and put him in.
Maybe.
Kind of like how they did with Howard the Duck. I don't know, because I didn't see Howard the Duck the first time in Infinity in-game either.
Yeah.
But they said he was there.
And then when you go watch it back again, you can see him.
He wasn't there the first time.
Oh, I mean, I was too hyped to in the theater to see it, but I know
like, how are the Ducks there? I'm like, no, he's not. And then I went back and looked, and I was like, no, he's not. And then they said it on the internet, and then all of a sudden, we were in the universe where he was. So that's how time travel, multidimensional things work.
Possibly,
it's a shift in phase and focus.
But of course, we got to talk about the twist. We got to talk about the twist at the end with Miles finally getting back into the Spider Society. He activating, again, talking about his genius. How the hell did he know how to activate the go home machine? He saw it work like one time and that's all he needed. But we see that because he's swinging through the city with Gwen, and everything that she's doing, he's able to like perfectly mimic it. Like she's hanging from one leg, he strings himself up. He hangs from one leg. She's
Casserella.
Yeah, I haven't heard this forever. Oh my god! But even when because she swings through like the trucks, and he's able to swing through it, albeit that he kind of thread the needle, ring the bell, and then that comes back when they're in Mumbattan, where Gwen gets to alert that this is a canon event, that the police captain, Pav's girlfriend's dad, is going to be killed, right. And Miles is like, "Oh, I'm going to go save her. I'm going to go save him." And Gwen is like, "No, you can't. It's too dangerous." And he's like, "Nah, I got this. Remember, thread the needles, ring the bell." And that's what he does. And he does it expertly. Right. It just takes him like that one time. I got to mess it up. Then boom, I got it. Get it right. But he gets back into the Spider Society. He activates the go home machine, and it scans him. And we see Spider-Bot is like, because apparently they don't know Miles' powers. They don't know that he can go invisible. They don't know that he has the Venom Strike.
They do know his powers. I think they do know his powers. They
act like they don't, because I feel like if they know that he can turn invisible, then they should kind of be aware.
What can they do?
I mean,
it's like if you're Superman and they know what you could do.
Margot could have stopped him. She did have the opportunity to no, but I'm saying not stop him, like physically stop him, but like reset the machine.
Here's the thing too, though. How much did? Okay, so if she doesn't reset the machine, he doesn't go home. Mm-hmm. But he wasn't going home anyway. I think she knew that he was not going home, but he was getting out.
No, I don't think that because they showed that when he got scanned and it said Earth 42, I don't think they really showed Margot acknowledging that. So I don't think that she knew that he wasn't going back to the universe.
But see, if we were watching the first one, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and then the second one, then we should have known that 42 was not his original universe, because they say it was his original universe in the beginning of the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Why is this a twist for us? Because we were
some
not
people
paying attention.
Yeah, because some people just didn't notice it.
Yeah, because they dropped 42 multiple times. Even in the first one, they were just shout out to Jackie Robinson, rest in peace, with the first African American baseball player. Clearly, that was an issue for y'all as well, trolls. Now that we're acknowledging that 42 is the spider that, bit Miles, and he's going back to the universe 42, you're like, okay. Mm-hmm. But for those diehard fans, they'd be like, wait, don't push the button. And it was too late. But we know he had to get out of there because he had a whole society
coming after
of arachnophobia people coming after him.
And Miguel looked feral.
He's strong. He did Darren Cross. he was trying not to be a dick, but Miles was like, I'm gonna just lean back and let this play out.
But no, he's like monstrous. Like, and there's so many things to unpack about what Miguel has done, because we get this first of all, we get this whole thing like Miguel's word is law. Everything he says that's what goes. So this theory that he has, because it's really at this point they even said this is a theory. This is what they're going off of, these canon events for all of these spider people, that they have to go through this, horrible loss or whatever. So he's saying that, it was Miles' fault, because if Miles had not got bitten by the spider in 1610, then that universe's Peter Parker wouldn't have died, because he would have been able to shut off the collider, but he had to stop because he had to go back and save Miles. His uncle wouldn't have died, because had he not had the Peter Parker shut off the collider, then he wouldn't have had to, Aaron wouldn't have had to like see that was Miles and then stop and then get shot by Kingpin. So he's putting all of this guilt on Miles, talking about everything that's happened, everything that's wrong that's happening is your fault. Horrible. Like if you hadn't had to go again, break the goober, go get a new goober, throw the bagel at Dr. Own, we wouldn't have had the spot. So everything is your fault because you're an anomaly. You weren't supposed to be Spider-Man. And so
sound like a troll.
But so we get all of that, but the thing about it is that Miguel based this off of the universe that he was in, that he destroyed, where he saw a universe where that universe's Miguel had died, and he saw that as an opportunity to go live out,
to try to do a Rick and Morty,
right? To go live out another man's life. And you have to think that act of trying to live in another universe is so different than Miles being a Spider-Man in his own universe, right? And trying to save his dad, and talking about it's going to disrupt the canon event. And so I think that's one of the things that's going to come to light in the third movie, because he's talking about one of the things is that the Spider-Man has to have some type of relationship with a police captain that, dies. But that didn't happen to Toby's Peter. That didn't happen to Tom's Peter. They didn't have a police captain.
And clearly it's not happening to Gwen's Peter.
Right, because her father is no longer Captain
Stacy. Yeah, because he retired. He's like, nah, I'm going to do something else.
Right. And so
it's interesting that you say that, Spider, because as you notice the conversation that Jeff was having about Aaron, he was saying that they went into business before he became a police officer.
Right.
And I think they might lean back on that as an option, but we've seen that it is possible to change your faith if you step out of that position. Who knows? Because crazy villains like Dr. Octopus came to Aunt May's house.
Right
when she was praying. Oh, no, the Green Goblin did that.
Yeah.
And then made her finish it. Finish it!
Finish evil! But
horrible.
So yeah, so
they always stealing Aunt May.
Gwen's Toby's Aunt May had a time. She had a rough life.
That's why I took her up to the clock tower, because there was some time.
She had a rough life.
She had a time.
But so Gwen's dad is no longer the captain, and so she sees that like he quit, and she was like, "How long ago did you quit?" And we can see that her universe is still intact. There's no incursion. There's nothing, he's not destabilizing and falling apart.
Yeah, but is it a final destination moment? Is it something going to happen to him later, or is that just a remedy? And would Jeff step down?
I don't think it's gonna be. I think what it is the realization that Miguel and his theory is wrong, and to go into the twist of what's happening in Earth 42. So Miles escapes through the go home machine, goes to Earth 42, and then runs into his mom. He's running into a universe now because the spider that was originally supposed to bite Miles in Earth 42, as we saw when the spider's retelling his story about everything that he did, and he said, I took a spider from another universe. We can see when that spider gets sucked up, Miles is in class. We see Miles has his back turned because it's the Miles with the braids in his hair. So that spider was going for Miles anyway. So the multiverse, the web of life and destiny, was going to have a Miles Morales that was Spider-Man. And so that's why when the spider was taken from Earth 42 to Earth 1610, it didn't seek out Peter Parker. It looked for Miles Morales. And so had Miles of Earth 42 been bitten, he would have been the Spider-Man in that universe. But so Miles of 1610 goes to Earth 42. He runs into his mom. He sees this is a crime-ridden universe that has no Spider-Man. And so we get, of course, they, everybody's like talking to him. Is like, what'd you do to your hair? You took your braids out. Even Uncle Aaron say, oh, you wearing your hair differently. Your hair is different. We getting all of these hints, again, for the people who still didn't really pay attention that he didn't go back home to his universe. But what's funny is one of the things that was another callback from Into the Spider-Verse was when Miles admits to Earth 32 Rio that he's Spider-Man, and she just kind of laughs it off. She was like, what is it, some kind of Comics Con thing? And he's like, what is Comics Con? She's like, the convention, the comic book convention. That's a callback from Into the Spider-Verse when they're in the woods and Gwen comes and saves Miles and Peter B. Parker. And he says, how many other Spider people are there? And while Peter is swinging away, he says, save it for Comic-Con. And then Miles says, what's Comic-Con? There is no Comic-Con in Earth 1610. So it's so funny that they brought that line back. But
so many callbacks. You would swear they had call ID.
So we see that, he's going up with his Uncle Aaron. First of all, he's surprised to see that Uncle Aaron is still alive. And then Aaron, of course, notices that something is wrong because the first thing he does is runs up and hugs him. He's like, you all right? You good? He was like, you changed your hair. And then they're going up the stairs and like Miles is hesitant and he's like, you all right? He's like, yeah, I'm just, I got a cold. I'm not feeling good. They get to the roof and he's like, is the plan good to go? And Miles, of course, trying to keep up with everything. He's like, yeah, we're good, but let's run through it one more time. Again, let's go through this one more time. And we see...
Y'all see that? Y'all saw the connection right there? One more time.
But so we see this Earth 42 without a Spider-Man, and we see that we have...
it's anarchy.
It is just, we see fire in the distance. For those people who played the PlayStation Spider-Man game, it's sort of when the Raft escapees took over New York. Like everything's on fire, it's just madness, murder, gunfire all over the place. And we see in the distance, we see Rhino Casino. There's like a building with a big 8 on it. There's another one that says Shocker. So we see somewhat of like a Sinister Six. And even J. Jonah Jameson, another cameo that we didn't even talk about, J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons. Oh my goodness.
J.K. Simmons is a Nexus being. J.K. Simmons is a Nexus being because every single iteration of J. Jonah Jameson in this Spider-Verse are all voiced by J.K. Simmons, and I love it. I absolutely love it. He was Jameson in Toby's universe. He was Jameson in Tom's universe. I love it. J.K. Simmons could forever be J. Jonah Jameson. But he even says,
we are farmers.
The Sinister Six cartel on the news broadcast. So we know that we have a Sinister Six, and so we see like all of the different like areas that they have control over, kind of like Back to the Future 2. When Biff steals the almanac, goes back in time, gives it to Biff in 55, and they go back to 1985, and they're in 1985B where everything has changed and everything. But so we get the reveal that there's a prowler because Miles gets knocked out. He's tied up to the punching bag, and
same punching bag he tied Peter to. And so we get Aaron turning on the music. Again, music is such an important part of this movie. Ain't No Love in the Heart of the City. Just, oh my God, just the panic in Miles' voice while he's trying to explain what's going on, and Aaron like putting the music on, and the music is mellow, and he takes the gauntlet, he puts the gauntlet on, and I could have sworn that he knocked Miles' head off when he hit that punching bag. I thought Miles was a goner. That was like a jump scare for me because they emphasized it so much, because they gave you the silhouette and they gave you like the explosion, like he punched through him. Like the insides of the bag came out.
Right.
It's kind of like that Michael B. Jordan Creed 3 blow when he anime punched him in the gut.
Right.
Like
just punched through him, all the sweat coming off his back. But so we get the reveal.
My memories hurt.
Of Miles trying to plead with Aaron, saying, you were the prowler, but I know that there's good in you, and you don't want to be the prowler, and it, you have the opportunity to be the hero. And Aaron tells him, he was like, I'm not the prowler. And we get the reveal of Miles G. Morales, who comes out with a very accentuated Puerto Rican accent, way more than
he's Puerto Rican.
Than Miles, because again, callback from Miles meeting with his counselor. Miles got a B in Spanish, and not because, and they have the whole thing about Miles speaking in Spanglish, mixing his Spanish with his English and everything, and Rio kind of accosting him for it. And it's like, I just love Jefferson's reaction when he's like, "Yeah, it's a B in Spanish." Jefferson was like, "Wow." But we get that callback as to, Miles isn't as in touch with his Puerto Rican heritage. He's more in touch with his like black side, his hip hop side, because he's kind of modeled more after his dad and his uncle Aaron than he is with his mom. But since in Earth 42, Jefferson's dead, Miles again grows up more with his mom, so he's more Spanish. He has that more Puerto Rican like dialect to his speech. But here's my theory. We had assumptions of Into the Spider-Verse when Miles first meets Peter Parker, their 1610 Spider-Man, when the spider sense goes off. Miles' spider sense changes from purple and green, and when he syncs up with Peter, it turns to red and blue. And so what some people were saying was that was Miles, his trajectory, his path, his life path deviated from his uncle with the Prowler, purple and green, to now one with Spider-Man, Peter in red and blue.
A father figure because he's a mentor.
Right. So some people say that that's what that was. Some people say it was just him syncing up with Peter, not necessarily saying that his life was changing or anything like that. So you could take it or leave it as what theory that you want to believe. But what I think is that
theory sounds like it got calories on it. I don't know if I want to necessarily just ingest that one, but it tastes good. It's a good tasting theory. Got some calories on it.
It tastes good, but it's not necessarily good for you. But
hey,
it
makes sense though.
And you can tell me whether or not you agree with that. But what I think is going to happen,
I'm not going to tell you at all.
Beyond the Spider-Verse, prediction time.
Prediction time.
But what I think is going to happen is that we get
I love this show.
we get this reveal of Miles G. Morales, and we see him dressed as the Prowler because, of course, with his Uncle Aaron now in the picture where Jefferson is it gives the illusion that, oh, because the Prowler was, a criminal working for the Kingpin, then Miles had more influence from the Spider People because that was like his first foray into becoming, very used to his power. So he's dealing with Spider or Peter B. Parker and Gwen, and so he knows that he wants to help people. He wants to save people. He wants to be, well, not that he wanted to be Spider-Man at first, but he comes into being Spider-Man. Now, what I'm thinking is going to happen with Earth 42 is that I don't think that these spiders, all of these spiders are connected with the, through the life of web and the web of life and destiny.
Yeah. Right.
I don't think that these spiders seek out people that they don't feel are not good at heart. Because all of the iterations of Spider-Man that we've seen,
he was meant to be bit.
That he was meant to be bit. And because we get Toby's Peter got bit, first started using his powers to get some money. They got the robber who stole from the wrestling ring, and because the manager cheated him, he was like, look, I failed to see why that's my problem. Ends up getting Uncle Ben killed. Same thing with Andrew. Not necessarily, well, it's the same thing. The guy was robbing the store. Andrew could have stopped him. He didn't. He ends up killing Uncle Ben. So it's not that they're not good people, but they feel slighted. And so it's the inaction that causes the consequences, right? With great power comes great responsibility. And so these spiders that seek out these people, they know that these, at the core, these are good people. So I think that Miles G. Morales of Earth 42 is still a good person. And what I think is happening is that in this universe...
Did you not hear him say that he said, we got to let me go or our dad's going to die? You say, your dad?
Right. And
you
so...
got to let me go. Why would I do that? Does that sound like a good person?
So here's...
Something like, mama...
Here's my thing. Because
that's a prediction.
What I think is because in this universe that doesn't have a Spider-Man, the New York is crime ridden, I think that Aaron and Miles are vigilantes. Thomas,
you think they're good guys?
I think they're like Thomas Wayne in Flashpoint, right?
What a twist!
They fight crime, but they're not like
criminals.
They're not, pacifist about it. Not pacifist, but they're not they're
sort of like a Red Hood.
Kind of. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's a Red Hood type thing, and I think they're partners in this. So I think that going through, but what I think is that of course they have to vet Miles because this is now a Miles from another universe.
Of course, they don't know him.
Exactly. So I think that's why he doesn't want to let him go. Not that he wants to kill him.
So do we get a Prowler Miles fight?
I think that we get because we see at the end, of course, callback, Miles in Into the Spider-Verse wraps Peter B. Parker in the ropes and everything on the punching bag, and Peter B. Parker tells him, he's like, first lesson, kid, don't wash the mouth, wash the hands. And we see that's exactly what's happening here, that Miles G. Morales is focused dead on Miles' face. He got his his hand up against the punching bag, and so
like you about to say, "Hey,"
right. And so Miles has his hand on the chains, about to spark it and break free. So
bioelectricity.
We're going to get a fight between Prowler Miles and Spider-Man Miles. We're definitely going to get that fight, but I think that at the end of it all, they're going to team up and they're going to be fighting with each other. Not fighting against each other.
You done broke the internet now with this prediction.
That's just my thought. I could be wrong.
Prediction time.
But that's my thought. So,
ooh, excuse me. What is in here? Oh my God!
I don't know.
Kick on it.
But
I'll take some more of that.
This movie, I already had. I won't say that I had high expectations, in the sense of I wasn't going into it expecting anything in particular. I knew
I'll
that.
be honest with you. When they showed the expectations with Miles Morales, I just envisioned your silhouette right there. And it said no expectations. I put high expectations, and then your silhouette is there. But the fact that it did do what it did do for you,
yeah. I have to go see it again.
Earned the respect.
I have to go see it again.
How many times have you saw it thus far?
3 so far.
Okay, so you have to see it again.
I have to see it again. And like I was saying, with Into the Spider-Verse is one of the few like movies that I own on Blu-ray. And even though I don't like make it a habit, like I don't watch a lot of movies on DVDs because we have, streaming services and all this other kind of stuff. I am going to buy.
All to find a DVD flip.
I'm because I have the collector's edition. Isn't it still on my desk? I think.
I don't know. That's a question that I can't answer because I'm not at your house or in your desk. But if the people was going to guess, they would say whatever they put in the comment section.
So I have the special collector's edition of Into the Spider-Verse with the.
Oh, that's gangster. Oh, that's nice.
So best believe when Across the Spider-Verse comes out, I'm going to get the special edition of Across the Spider-Verse. When Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out, I'm going to get the special edition because I just know that Beyond the Spider-Verse is going to be fantastic. And when we get the whole box set, when they have the trilogy combined, I'm going to buy that one as well because it's just it's just so good. It is just that good to where I have to support it. I have to like just contribute to it. It is just because I feel like if you have something that entertains you that much, right? There's no reason to not support the people that have created it if you're able. And
that's what I'm saying. The slow hand claps and give these people their flowers, man. They let them put a bow because a lot of hard work and a lot of hours went into this. And at the same time, they came out with something incredible, just simply incredible.
I've been blasting the score.
What's Up, Danger?
No, not What's Up, Danger. Not even because there's the orchestral score and then there's the soundtrack. Now the soundtrack, Metro Boomin did the soundtrack. He produced it.
He wants some more too.
Oh, what do you mean? He wants to do the next one?
No, Metro Boomin wants some more.
Oh yeah. I just because I'm so wrapped up in everything else, and like yeah, you're right. But he has Nas on the soundtrack. He has Lil Wayne. He got a couple of new artists that he pulled in, and it's just like Offset. Metro Boomin had a cameo in speaking of cameos, he had a cameo in the movie too.
I did not see Metro Boomin in the cameo.
Yeah, and it's like before the Spider Society goes off to chase Miles, he's like just hanging upside down. He has a quick line in the movie. But
are we gonna talk about Miles' little punk ass friend that doesn't want to help? He doesn't want to be the guy in the chair. And it's like that's a slippery slope, man.
Even though
I don't even think he did the one thing Miles asked him to do.
No, he didn't. He absolutely didn't because the spot still got away. He was like, "There's a villain on the roof. Call the cops. Let them know." He was like, "I don't know about that. It's a slippery slope. I'm not your guy in the chair." But then he was wearing his Jordans.
That's disrespect.
That's a trash roommate.
That's just disrespect.
That's a trash roommate. But
he'll be webbed up daily. And I wish he would tell somebody on Spider-Man.
And he was playing a Spider-Man PS4 game. I think he was playing on the PS5 though. I didn't get a good look at the console, but I'm pretty sure it was probably a PS5. But yeah, he was playing the Spider-Man game.
Prediction time. New Spider-Man for PS5. New Spider-Man for PS5.
There's already going to be a Spider-Man 2. That's coming out on PS5. Yeah, and this fall.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, there you go.
Have you not seen the gameplay footage for
trailer?
The game?
No, I have not. Maybe we should do breakdown on the trailer.
Oh, I mean, it's old news at this point, but
I mean, it's old to who?
To everybody who has been anticipating this game.
Everyone that's watching this at this point in time is here for you or I, or a combination of both. Because let's be honest, why else would you click the thumbnail for Spider-Man? So many other thumbnails you could have clicked on for Spider-Man. You clicked on this one.
This is true. But yeah, the score, being able to, because we already know that, you know, Miles has his theme and everything, and there's a theme for the overall movie.
What's up, Danger?
But the orchestral theme for Gwen and the orchestral theme for Miguel, and like there's these musical stings that are specific to them. Like they're literally the tracks for the score of the film. It is Spider-Woman, Gwen Stacy. It's Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara. These are their theme music. And at the end, before we even get to the end, starting the movie off and having Gwen recap everything that happened in Into the Spider-Verse, and talk about Miles and talk about how, you know, things haven't always been easy for him and he's not the only one, you know, and it's just, again, getting into how this is not just Miles' story. This is Gwen's story. And it's like everything that she's explaining in the beginning, that's all you need to know, that this is Gwen's story, because everything she's saying about Miles, she adds on to it, and he's not the only one. She's talking about herself. But the drums, getting the drums into the music at the beginning, and just like, and just like, oh my God. But having those drums incorporated into it and have that being part of like Gwen's introduction and going into her drum solo and showing her playing with the Mary Janes and how she just like goes off on them. It's like, I didn't join a band to talk about my feelings. And where now at the end, she is now in a band where everyone knows how she feels. They are joining with her because of her feelings towards Miles. And so, but in the end, so because we're building up to that final scene, because we get the Prowler theme, we still have a little bit of a variation. There's a mixture between the Prowler, remember, like I guess it was like strings and Into the Spider-Verse. When like, yeah, those.
I can't do it. But y'all know what I'm talking about.
But so they mixed that with Miles' themes, that dun, dun, dun. They mixed that, the Prowler theme, with Miles' theme in the end. And once they have, like, they're going back and forth between Miles, the Miles face off, and then Gwen kind of wrapping everything up, they mix in that theme, the Miles Prowler theme, and then they mix in Gwen's theme, and then they mash them together at the end to give like the end theme to like close out the movie.
And you saying Metro Boomin did all that?
No, Metro Boomin didn't do that. Daniel Pemberton did the score. This is the orchestral score. Metro Boomin did like the music soundtrack, like the actual songs with the lyrics and all of that stuff. But yeah, if you go back and you watch it again and just kind of like, because that's one of the reasons why I like watching these movies multiple times, because one, I can watch it, for the story and experience the whole thing for the first time. Watch it again so I can catch up on the things that I missed.
Then it's work after that.
Right. Then not next time I'm in the movie theater and I'm taking notes.
Yeah, then it's notes.
But no, it is.
You got the little recorder.
Right. No, I'm not. I'm not believing it. I want everyone to know that I'm not going in. I'm not recording movies inside the movie theater. That is not what I do.
Nor am I.
Like, sir, I'm going to have to ask you to remove your sunglasses in the movie theater.
What? These regular glasses?
Got to replace the SD card, put in another one, and run out of space.
These are regular frames.
But no, one of the reasons I needed to watch it another time is because Hobie, if you listen to Hobie, Daniel Kaluuya, shout out to Daniel Kaluuya, and his voice acting was on par for Hobie Brown. But
wait, nope. Nope. Okay, there you go.
But his like being able to like watch him for the first time and get everything that he was saying and like understand it all like the very first time, impossible. Unless you are British I don't think that I would say that I don't think any American caught all of his lines of dialogue the very first time.
I'm gonna be
Because
honest with you. I was like, what'd you say?
Not only were some of them just like in, you know, his, because he's, of course, he's a British actor, but he accentuated it to, you know, be more Cockney, you know, spent a brief time by the runway motto, I hate the AM, hate the PM, you know, and just like heighten that level.
Sound like you British now. But, are you sure you're not European?
No.
You thinking about it? Like, there was that time.
Like, you know
what? I did have a croissant. I did have that croissant. I did have jam.
I did drink tea yesterday.
Yeah, I was with tea and biscuits, which are cookies.
But being able to go back and rewatch all of that and see all of that and be able to catch all of those like little things that he said, because not only, like I'm saying, was some of it in the accent and it was hard to understand, but some of it was like kind of understated and kind of under his breath. And, you know, so being in the theater and you're paying attention to something else, so you don't really hear him, because when one of the things,
like, you got the audience out here making noise like myself.
Exactly. But one of the things that like Miguel tells Hobie, he's like, you know what? I'm not even going to acknowledge you because I don't know what to do with you. And Hobie was like, you know what? Fine. I'm not even here. And so he like disappears off screen, and then he shows up like 15 feet back, and he's like, not here either. And you just know he's back there stealing shit.
Oh, that's horrible. Why would you say that? There's no evidence of that.
except all the time we see him picking shit up. But
breaking shit.
But one of the things, and it was just so subtle, when Miles is talking to Miguel and Peter B. Parker, and they're trying to get him to calm down, and they keep calling him kid, and they're like, kid, you gotta listen, kid, you gotta focus, kid, you know. And Miles is like, stop calling me that, don't call me kid, stop calling me that. And Hobie was like, oh, here we go, because he could see it starting to boil. And Jessica was like, Hobie, you're not helping. And he was like, good. He's like, I know. He's like, this kid, y'all trying to run his life and you're wrong. And Hobie understands that. And I love this movie. I love this movie so much. It is so good. It is so good.
So it's safe to say it's super.
It is beyond.
You're doubling down. You're tripling down.
Quadrupling down. I am.
Hey, that's a word.
The number of universes that we have connected to the web of life and destiny. That's how many times I will say that this movie is super.
It was almost like madness, wasn't it?
It was madness.
In a multiverse.
In the multiverse. Across the multiverses. Across the Spider-Verse. What did Miguel call him?
Spider-Mania.
Miguel called it, I forget what he called it. And because Miles called it a Spider-Verse, he was like, that's a stupid name. He was like, well, what is it called? And it was like a multi-humanoid arachno-verse or something like that. Something. And Miles looked at him, and Miguel's like, yeah, that name's kind of stupid too.
At least you had enough to prove that. And I'd love to see the distinction between Peter B. Parker and then Spider-Man 2099. They're just so opposite, but know each other and respect each other enough. Be like, But he's bad. He's BA within his own right.
Yeah.
Those laser webs.
Laser like webs, bro. It's like it just
clearly has the strength, speed, stamina. He's a vampire. He was about to bite. Who was he? About
to bite Vulture. Yeah,
yeah. He was about to suck all the lines out of his system.
But no,
somebody need anger management.
He does. He's very serious, very stoic.
Spider and I saving the day again. Just coming out with these answers.
Miles brought him an empanada because they said that he likes the empanadas from the cafeteria, and he just threw it back at him. I'm like, dude,
that's so disrespectful.
But then Hobie like webbed it and took it back, and Hobie ate it.
Yeah. Let me get that.
But like, look, if y'all ain't gonna eat it, I'm gonna snack on this real quick.
Real quick with the whips, because Spider B tried to bring his pizza when he was leaving his dimension and Wasn't quick enough. You gotta be fast with it. You gotta be.
But oh man, I could literally talk about this movie like from start to finish, scene to scene, and just go through everything and just how amazing it all looked. And literally, one of the things that Lord and Miller has said, both of Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, is that they animated it into a way that anytime you pause the movie, if you're watching the movie like it's at home or whatever, any like still frame, right, like on DVD, any still frame, it's not like, you know how sometimes if you're watching cartoons or whatever and you pause something and like a character is moving from frame to frame or moving from scene to scene, and it's like they whoosh and like you pause it and it's blurry and stuff like that. There are no blurry like movements, like unless it's intentional. So the promo images that they use to like promote the character posters, they were all just still frames of the movie. Like Jessica Drew, like turning
a lot of cinematic events, a lot of cinematic scenes.
Yes, a lot of cinematic scenes. Like that fight when they're fighting in the museum, when Jessica is like turning back, she's got the portal behind her and she's looking kind of sad, like they're about to leave Gwen. That was one of the character posters. When Gwen was swinging through the museum and she was lit by the helicopter, that was another one of the posters. And
when Gwen was just standing in front of the portal before she decided to go through it, that was iconic.
Yes. And it's just, oh my God, is everything about it is fantastic. Fantastic.
Go ahead and get your ticket. So you can see it again.
Go see it again.
There's no shame in it. I might see it again as well. Because I like Spider-Man.
It's so good. It's so good. But it's just,
I already told the people it's super.
Yeah, and it's just, we gotta wait. What?
Too long?
9 months.
Yeah. Too long.
9 months till March.
So the animation is finished. They did it all at one time.
Yeah, I think so.
So
they probably
is it recorded too? Did they do the recording already?
That I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know what percentage of the movie is done to where.
I think it's done. I think we're just in a holding pattern.
Possibly.
And I'm gonna see if I can go leak it online. The other thing, not that, in case it leaks.
Right.
They come looking for me.
They come looking straight for you. Like, he started the episode off said he was in Belize.
Yeah,
that the first thing they look.
I'll be gone. I'm going somewhere where there's no extradition.
There you go.
You leak Spider-Man, I promise.
They will come after you.
They got some problems. They wouldn't even let Spider-Man be on a little boy tombstone, so I know they ain't gonna let you leak the movie. See that? They're listening.
They're listening.
I gotta go.
Well, yeah.
I didn't say too much. I can't trust my iPhone. I think Siri the feds.
But let us know what you thought about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. If I don't want to say, compare it to if you loved it as much as I did or loved it as much as we did, because clearly, we're fans of the franchise, we're fans of the series, but you may have loved it just as much, if not more. But let us know what you thought about it.
If you didn't like it, say what you didn't like.
Yeah,
let us know. Laugh at you.
Like I said,
discuss it with you.
Like I said, I know a lot of people were saying that they didn't like the ending because they didn't like the way that it just kind of left things open-ended. But when you have a continuation, if you have a movie that's going to end with to be continued, then it's going to leave it open-ended. And you look, I'm talking about Back to the Future. You look at Back to the Future when Marty left and then came back. And you like, well, he came back to the past. He came back to 1955. And so we see that, he goes back to the past, and after Doc thinks that he sent him to the future, and he was like, well, what are you doing back here? And Doc passes out, and the camera is like pulling out and fading away. It's to be continued. You know, and they leave the movie open-ended because there's another part that's going to come that's going to finish the story. So unless you're like living under a rock and you don't know that there's another part coming and you go into the movie and you're like, oh, I don't like this because they left it so open-ended, you got to understand there's another part coming and it's going to wrap everything up. So that's why we got to be continued.
To the future. But that's not a bad, if that's what your only complaint is, that's not bad. That just means you wanted more of what you got.
And then if anything, I feel like that's a compliment to the movie. You're like, I wanted more.
Right.
Because honestly, I could have sat there and I could have watched a 4-hour long Spider-Verse movie. So if they wanted to tie them both together and be like, oh, this movie is going to be 5 hours long.
People that are sitting there and saying that the movie is too long, clearly don't know how to manage their schedule. That's all that is. That's the situation. So,
I got stuff to do. I can't be sitting here in
8-hour Spider-Man movie
in a 2.5 hour Spider-Man animated movie.
Listen, for those who don't like it because it's animated, grow up.
Yes, please.
There was a lot of story that they told in animation that I don't know if they could have got in live version that would come across so well.
But I mean,
plus we wouldn't have had Spider Cat and Spider the horse and
Spider T-Rex and why does the horse need a mask? To protect his identity.
So it made so much sense, right?
Who's gonna identify a horse?
Hey man, these horses are identifiable. You ever seen Seabiscuit?
Yeah.
Mr. Ed?
But they use multiple horses for those. The fact is that they're interchangeable. It's not just one horse.
It's not important at all. No, don't pay attention to that.
But let us know what you thought about it. Let us know what you thought about this video. Remember, if you like the video, go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you can be notified when we have new episodes that come out. If you want the audio version of the podcast, just search for All Things Super on any of your podcast streaming platforms. And if you want to join in on the conversation, just tweet at us at ATSuperPod.
And leave a comment because we like reading comments. If you leave one, we're going to read it.
And there you go.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Spider,
I'm so excited.
Let me know when you come back from the theater.
I might just get up and go right now. Don't even
hey
know.
man, hey, why not? You know, let's love life and live.
There you go.
And watch Spider-Man.
But thank you all.
I can get jiggy with that.
Yeah, get jiggy with it. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. We absolutely love doing this. We love you joining us for these episodes. We really appreciate all the support. Thank you so much. And we'll be back. We have, oh God, we have so many movies this month. We got Transformers next. And then we have something else after that. And then we got Indiana Jones this month. Oh, Extraction. We got Extraction coming up. We got Extraction 2.
Extraction 2.
We got Extraction 2 coming up.
Extraction 1.
We got Indiana Jones and Dollar Destiny coming up. So this summer is going to be jam-packed with a lot of All Things Super. So I hope that you are ready.
If you're not, you go get ready.
Go get ready. But
you better come. What?
Until then, keep being super.
There it is. I knew he was going to say it. Bye, y'all.